Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cloud Currents, a podcast that navigates the ever-changing seas of cloud computing, cybersecurity, and emerging tech. I'm your host, Matt Pacheco, and I lead the content marketing team here at TierPoint. And in my role, I help businesses understand cloud and security trends to help them make better decisions about their IT strategies. Today, we have a truly exceptional guest, someone who's been at the forefront of the technology innovation for over 3 decades, Kevin Surace. He's known as the father of virtual assistants. That's awesome. Having pioneered voice AI technology at General Magic in the 90s. That led the foundation to Siri, Alexa, and a lot of the other modern voice assistants. Currently, Kevin serves as CEO and CTO of AppVance, where he's revolutionizing software testing through generative AI, and as chair of Token, a cybersecurity company stopping ransomware attacks through next-gen biometric authentication. Kevin is also a highly sought-after keynote speaker. He does a lot of these, delivering around 50 talks annually on AI and innovation to corporate leadership teams across the world. In today's episode, we'll explore the evolution of AI from its early days to today's generative models, discuss the critical cybersecurity vulnerabilities that most companies don't even know they have, and look at how AI is transforming everything from customer service to manufacturing and cybersecurity. We'll also tackle controversial topics like job displacement, energy consumption, and the future of robots. Should be a fun combo. Kevin, welcome to Cloud Currents. We're so glad to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt.
Sweet. So let's talk about your journey. Let's start there. Can you tell us about your journey from start to where you are today in tech?
Well, I was raised in upstate New York, actually, and my dad was worked at GE in audio electronics. So I kind of got this excitement about electronics and ultimately computers from being around all that stuff, if that makes sense. And that led me to Silicon Valley, where I spent many decades and got some 95 worldwide patents or so on a whole variety of things, including the first virtual assistant called Portico, and my talk, and her name was Mary, and all of the things that we learned. And in fact, much of what we learned about human interaction with a software, we learned during that time and laid out in these patents on how one would do this, right? And it turns out humans like to interact with other humans, and we immediately anthropomorphize them. We give them names, and we have an interaction because that's the interaction we're used to, right? So if you were virtual Matt, I would start to interact with, even if I knew you were virtual, I would start to interact with you like you're a human. It's just what we do. And this was born out of several Stanford studies, believe it or not, and a book called The Media Equation. So it was great to work on that. And I think, that was in the late 90s. I had done some work before that in semiconductors and some other things. And in the first cellular data phone, which was called Air Communicator, which came before the voice stuff. So I've had lots of fun things I got to do.
Tell us a little bit about where you are now.
Well, I'm in Maui right now. Is that what you meant?
No, I meant...
So look, I'm working on a number of things. As you mentioned, I do about 50 keynotes a year around the world on AI, on the Joy Success Cycle, which is my upcoming book, and especially in the era of AI, the Joy Success Cycle, and also cybersecurity. So cybersecurity company I have is called Token. We believe that the future is biometric security, and if I don't know that you're you, even here, I don't know that you're not a virtual you or a deep fake or an interactive deep fake, right? So I will know in the future because you will use your fingerprint to log into everything. And a fingerprint is something that should never be stored in a network. It should be stored in a hardware device. It should be right next to you. It must be proximal to the person logging in. It must be bound to the application that you're logging into. And if you do all that, that's in essence unhackable. You can't do relay hacks. You can't do really all of the common hacks that are done today. And so what people probably don't know that are listening to that, a few may know, but most don't, is that your auth apps, we know what these auth apps are that say, is it you logging in, or here's the number, or MFA or 2FA or any of those are not just hacked every hour. It's very, very easy to do. But in fact, they're a honeypot. Like if you're using the Salesforce auth app, there's a kit that thwarts that right now. It's incredibly easy. It's a relay kit. All of these are relays. And I'll take a moment to explain how a relay works, a relay attack, real-time relay attack. So what a real-time relay is I send 2,000 of your employees a phishing email, but it's generated by AI, so it's become indistinguishable from real. It says that you better log into your, employee.toyourpoint.com account, right? Whatever it is. And so because something's up, and so you click on it, you go to log in. It looks pixel perfect because the website that you're logging into, which is fake, a spoofed site, is pixel perfect. And it's generated by AI in about 5 minutes, literally pixel perfect with a relay on the back end. That means the front end is pixel perfect, but everything I'm putting in there is going to the hacker, right? So I send this to 2,000 employees. I get one that takes the bait. You log in, you put in your ID and your password. They've got that. But then you go, I'm protected because of MFA. I have an auth app, or I have a 2FA that comes on my phone. And what do? The auth app lights up and it says, is it you logging in? And you say, yes, it is. It's not you logging in. It's a hacker in Russia logging in that lit up your auth app. You didn't light it up, okay? Because it's real time. They lit it up. You say it's you, or even you take a number and put it in there, and that relays to them, and they put it in the real app, right? So all you're doing, it's called a real-time relay or man-in-the-middle real-time relay attack. All you're doing is authorizing them. And so everything that we rolled out over the last few years in MFA, 2FA, auth apps is incredibly easy to hack. It's become the number one hack. The number one hack isn't coming in the back of the cloud, the back of the network. Why? We've encrypted the data now. We also encrypted our data over the last 5 years. So nobody wants that. They want to come in the front door because the front door decrypts the data. So if I get in the front door, I run a report, I'm done in 2 minutes. You never found me. You didn't know I went in there, and you can't stop me because you let me in. You literally let me in with your ID, password, and MFA or auth app, right? So what happens is with FIDO2 biometrics, I have a device. Here's an example. This is that's a token ring actually, so I can show you one of those. So I can just wear this, right? And then that has my fingerprint stored in it that was stored originally to the original web application domain. Make sense so far? So now hacker tries to do this hack. First of all, nothing happens with the ring at all. Why? Can't light it up over cellular, can't light it up over Wi-Fi. It doesn't work that way. It only works within 3 feet of the actual computer logging into the actual original domain it was registered to. So, this fake domain, right, that has some letter off or whatever isn't the original domain. So it won't do anything. So it works on biometrics, proximity. I've got to be proximal to the computer logging in, so they can't log in Russia. And it's domain bound. So it's kind of it's really unhackable. So there's nothing to relay to anyone, right? And finally, most people using these token devices, they go passwordless. So they log in 2 seconds. There is no ID or password. There's nothing to relay. You just touch your thing and you're in, but you're only in the application that you're, supposed to be in within 3 feet because it works wireless. So that's the ticket. That's the future. And the same is going to be true with Zoom calls and Teams calls, which do support this. So if you're logging in with a token device and it's biometric, I know you're you. You have to be you because you literally had to put your fingerprint in to get in. No fingerprint, no way. And by the way, if you lose one of those devices, no one can use it. It's tied to your fingerprint. And you keep your fingerprint with you. You didn't give your fingerprint to your corporation. You just keep it with you. And you can erase it if you want. Be done with it, right? So I think that is the future of ID. And one last thing on this, people say, but we've trained our people to watch out for phishing emails. So UC San Diego did this study of, I want to say it was 18,000 employees, I think. And they trained a group and they didn't train another group. And then they just fished them all and said, what's the difference? There was a 2% difference in those trained versus not trained. So the fact of the matter is it didn't matter, if that makes sense. There's only a 2% difference of those who logged in, who took the phishing bait versus not the phishing bait. And that's getting lower because these AI phished emails are so good. So this is just a different time, a different place. If you use an auth app today, like the Salesforce auth app, you're literally a honeypot. Like all the ransomware people know is, I know how to get that I win every time. Every time I have your data. It's easy peasy. So different time. So there you go. That's one of the things I'm working on. We didn't get to all of them, but there's one.
Yeah, and I have plenty of questions, but let's talk about the other thing you're working on, and then we'll dive into some questions I have about each of them.
So probably a couple other things. Obviously, Keynote. Then I've got my book coming out called The Joy Success Cycle, coming out in the spring this year, 2026. So that's exciting in this era of AI. Another company I've got is called AppVance, and we have been using AI to find bugs in software instead of humans. Instead of humans automating or writing scripts or any of that, the AI writes all the scripts, finds all the bugs, and delivers them to you. I'll tell you, the biggest problem there is people don't believe it. The second biggest problem, and that's unfortunate because it works, the second biggest problem is sabotage. Just employees, especially, if you're offshore and this is your job is to either manually find bugs or automate scripts, they just sabotage the thing and say, well, it doesn't work. They tell their boss it doesn't work and it can't work, and that isn't true, but people are afraid for their jobs. It's one of the points you brought up, and this is an era of people being worried that this AI is so good it's going to eat their job, and so they do everything they can to try to make it look bad. But I can assure you, the AppVance AI script generator will find about 10 times more bugs than your people will, and it'll find them based on your own business requirements. That's not an arguable, it's a knowable. The fact that most people don't use that today, they're scared of it. What do they do with this whole team? They got 300 manual testers. What do they do with them? I don't need that anymore, right? All of these are cultural problems, cultural shifts that are going to happen. And we're seeing this in AI throughout. AI for customer support. I was on a podcast a few weeks ago. The guy looks at me and says, well, how do you feel that since you invented the AI assistant, right? How do you feel that it's going to take millions of customer support jobs? I said, well, I wasn't thinking of that when we were working on it. We were just trying to get people their email when they were driving, right? I mean, I was just trying to service. I mean, we could imagine that would be the case someday, but it wasn't what we were trying to do. But this is how technology advances, and eventually it advances enough where it can replace tier one customer support. And frankly, AI outperforms tier one customer support in almost every industry today. And so if you're a tier one customer support person, I hate to tell you, but that job probably isn't going to be around a long time. Just as if you were a secretary when the PC came out, at some point, people got PCs on their desktop and the secretarial pool went away. We could see that coming. Like, this wasn't a surprise. So there's a lot of things we see coming, but they open up new opportunities. They really do. And we're making companies more productive. And when we make them more productive, the goods and services go down in cost, the demand goes up for those goods and services, and we hire more people, but in different roles.
That's excellent. You have your hands in a lot of things. Yeah, it sounds like AI seems to be the reoccurring theme and everything you're doing. So we'll have plenty of questions about that. Let's go back to the token piece, because you answered a lot of my questions before I could even answer them about MFA and security and legacy MFA and biometric authentication. But I guess one of the biggest challenges sometimes with new technology adoption, because the ring is a new piece of technology for an enterprise or a medium-sized business, how do you convince leaders that it's needed? Because sometimes they'll think Microsoft authentication is perfect.
Yeah, great. Look, it's a great question. And you can't convince everyone, right? What we do is we have lots of data and hacker kits that specifically hack the Microsoft Auth app in the way that I told you, with just a simple relay. And you can download the kit for free and use it. It's on the dark web. It has a name. You just get it. It's well documented. It's been downloaded by universities. They did the research. They put out the research paper. The paper basically says, if you're using the Microsoft Auth app, you have no protection whatsoever. None. You literally have none. A user is going to hand over the keys to their office access, right? Or their admin access or whatever it is. Period, full stop. This is known. Now, whether a CISO or a head of ID, IAM, wants to read that and understand it and think it's going to hurt them, it's like anything else, right? It took them years to just get regular 2FA, and 2FA is 25 years old. This isn't a new idea, right? SMS auth has been around a long time. Then auth apps probably for 10 years. Those are not secure, period, full stop. They're the opposite of secure. I can't convince everyone of that. And that just goes back to, early adopters versus mid versus late adopters, right? And early adopters read the data, believe the data, and say, I need to protect myself so I can sleep at night. And others go, oh, it probably won't hit me. And then it does. And of course, the result in our industry is they get fired, right? Which is, unfortunately, that's what happens, right? They knew what the solution was. They chose not to execute the solution. And the solution costs very little. $100 a year per employee. What is that? 0.01% of their salary or something? It's just nothing, right? But they go, well, the auth app's free and it's worth exactly what you're paying for it. Zero. Whether you use the auth app or not, doesn't matter. Your credentials are being relayed, right? So I think there's going to be, or there are early adopters, and there are, thousands and thousands of people using that device. We also have I have it here. That's a token bio stick, actually. Let's see. There you go. The USB is for charging. This is a wireless device, but you can charge it with USB. So it just sits on your desk. Thousands and thousands of people log in every day with these devices, right? Millions of times. That is a game changer. And as every CISO who has gotten these told me 2 weeks later, Kevin, I sleep at night now because I locked the front door. The front door has always been unlocked. That's why we put 90 other tools in the network to try to see who's in my cloud, right? Now, the only people who are in my cloud, their fingerprint matches. I know it's them. It's not about possession, right? If I have, a YubiKey, it's about possession, but of course we know 30% of those are lost every year, and someone else has picked it up and they plug it in and they log in as you. So without biometrics, you can't guarantee the person's the person. And that's true on these calls. It's true in logging into your network. It's true for your admins. It's true for everybody. The future is biometrics, period, full stop. And it might even be that way even for banking customers. And when you think about a major banking customer, I don't know, $100 a year for a subscription for one of these devices is also zero. If you're a major, a commercial banker with, say, Chase or Bank of America or JP Morgan, whatever it is, right? So I think we're, because of AI, we're heading to a biometric future, and some CISOs get that, and some, they hear you, but they have other priorities. I'll add one other thing. The nice thing about biometrics is you can go completely passwordless. No ID, no password. It's just your fingerprint. No one else can get in. They have your fingerprint or they don't. I mean, unless they cut off your finger, that's it. So once you go passwordless, you save over 20 seconds per logon versus an auth app. You take about 28 seconds down to 2 seconds, right? That's amazing. That's like game changing. It's game changing. So you end up recovering $1,500 of productivity per year from your employees. Per employee. And unfortunately, CISOs don't get a bonus for that. But the CFO gets it, right? HR gets it, right? People get it. So you can get some buy-in from your other C-level execs when you say, how'd you like $1,500 of productivity on average back from every employee by going passwordless? And the employees love it because it's wireless. They just touch it and they're in. There's no apps and numbers. And where's that app? Oh, I hate this Okta app. And forget it. All that's gone. Touch your thing, you're in. And biometric FIDO2 is supported by every major SaaS vendor today. Like, it's Salesforce, it's Microsoft, it's everybody. They already support it. Hardly anyone uses it, but the support is there. And you just literally hit the switch and say, that's all we support is biometric FIDO2, and you're done. That's it. So, There's early adopters, there's late adopters, and there's those who are going to get hacked and ask for the last year. You can ask, Quantum and MGM, Qantas and MGM and Clorox and a whole bunch of others, why didn't you choose biometric security? Because it cost you millions and millions of dollars in ransomware, and you lost all this data and in productivity, and you could have just chosen these devices. You'd have been done. I don't know if that's a long answer, but you get the point.
Yeah, no, I get the point. And I do see the reluctance, especially with a physical device, like getting it a company with 10,000 employees. That's really interesting from a manufacturing perspective too, and being able to deliver them. That was my other question.
We can deliver millions. So
that's awesome.
They're actually made in Vietnam, not in China, made in Vietnam. But we can deliver millions. There's no limit of the delivery. The limit is, and it's not employee acceptance either. So one thing we did is make sure that it's convenient and wireless, really underline that, convenient and wireless. Convenience trumps all, as Steve Jobs taught us. Convenience trumps all. And these have to be convenient devices to have everyone say, yep, I want to do this. And I understand why it's important. And another thing is your fingerprint's yours. You didn't give your fingerprint to the corporation. It's a device that is owned by the corporation, but it's yours. It's assigned to you. And when it's not assigned to you, you yourself can erase the device from your mobile phone. Say, delete my fingerprint from my device, and it's gone. So you are still maintaining your fingerprint. You didn't hand it to anyone, and it didn't go in the network. This is one of the problems with passkeys is passkeys get network shared. They get stored in the cloud so you can use them across devices. And that's a honeypot. It's like, all I got to do is get to that cloud point and say I can get into anything, right? So we don't do that. Nothing's stored in the cloud here.
Passkeys is in like what Apple uses for...
Yeah. Any of the passkeys.
Yeah, your fingerprint used to be stored just on your device.
Right. But if you use passkey like Apple, Microsoft, Google, etc., that so that you can use it across devices, they store it in the network. That's a very bad idea. So the thing with a FIDO2 device is it must be stored in something called a secure element. And a secure element is a chip that if you try to take the device apart and get at the chip somehow, it destroys the data. So it's very, very secure. It's like a bank vault for your fingerprint. You do not want stuff stored in a network. You don't want anything to do with passkeys stored in a network. You want everything in a device, and the device that's cryptographically bound to your fingerprint and whatever domains that you have associated with. Only the device can authorize you. And if you lose the device, it doesn't work for anyone else. It's fantastic. Like, it's brilliant. And you can wear a ring, and half our customers wear a ring, half the customers want a different form factor, and there'll be more form factors. It's all good.
Always good to have options. So you mentioned adoption, and I'm going to shift a little to the AI conversation. So we talked about a little bit about security adoption and adopting some of these, but mass adoption's kind of important. Like you said, Steve Jobs and convenience, easy to use. So in the past, you've mentioned that only about 2% of people are actually using AI to its potential. Can you, and companies, even companies are rolling it out to desktops. They're making it widely available, but people are still not using it the way it could be used to its fullest potential. Why do you think adoption is so low? Is it not convenient?
I get to speak to at so many conferences with so many corporations, right? They're C-level execs, and you've got C-level execs pounding the table that have figured this out and said, I want everyone to use it the way I use it, which is for everything, an AI first mentality. But most employees, they see this as a little tool. First of all, they see it as kind of a co-pilot, because mostly that's what got rolled out. So you've got co-pilot, and it helps you with spelling. If they kind of stop there, it helped me with a layout in one of my PowerPoint slides. They go, you're using 1% of what it's capable of, right? And so part of this is you got to go teach people. How about analyze this list of warranty claims and tell me what we can fix in the factory? Now, you can't do all that with Copilot. You can do that with other models, right? So if I've got a video that I want to analyze of my line and how to make that line more productive, that's Gemini. That's what I have to use because they can analyze videos. Other models can't analyze videos well. because Gemini was trained on YouTube videos where other models weren't allowed to do that. So you've got all of these different opportunities there. You got a million AI products out there that are very targeted. You got some core foundational models that do certain things. And once you get to know what all these tools do, you run your life with it. Like it's everything. If I haven't used AI 5 times an hour, I've failed myself. And what's interesting about that is I tell that to people and they just gasp. They go, what? I said, well, what did you do with AI? Well, last week, I asked it a question about this recipe. You go, last week, there's someone at a competitor that's 10 times more productive than you are today because you are not using this at all. So AI first. That means before you go to Word, before you go to Excel, before you go to anything, go to AI and say, I need to achieve the following task, or I have the following opinion on something, or I need to write the following thing, or I need to analyze this document. I do a lot of analysis of documents. Here's this thing I wrote. Boom. Here's the document. Poke holes in it. Tell me how I can do better. Tell me what's wrong with this, right? How is this going to play to the rest of the team? It's amazing.
So you also mentioned, and this one stuck out to me, was sabotaging AI rollouts when you were talking a little bit about Advance and kind of the bug testing. We'll get to that in a little bit, but can you talk to us about how leaders are addressing some of this resistance too?
Yeah, there was a survey done in the fall that showed that 31% of employees anonymously agreed that they were, admitted to sabotaging AI tools coming in. And that hurt 80% of the AI rollouts. 80% of AI rollouts are failing because some employees have somehow sabotaged it. So I'll tell you, at Advance, we have seen employees. So AI writes these scripts and runs them, and it finds all these bugs in their software that this team said don't exist. This is production software. It doesn't exist. Well, it finds all these bugs. Oh, it must be wrong. Really? Here's the script. Retest it. Of course, the AI is right? It's a machine. It knows what it's doing. So it's right. So now there's egg on their face. So, a few days go by and they say, oh, these AI written scripts, they don't run at all. So of course they do. I know the code. Absolutely. Because their AI tests them before it hands them to you. So I know they run. Nope. They don't run it. It writes junk. Look, it's got these extra lines in there. They actually edited the scripts and put bad code in to break them on purpose to show their boss it doesn't work. That leaves me or someone telling their boss that team is sabotaging the rollout, that a human put this in there. This is what AI produces, what a human. And then the problem is, you've got a boss that says, are you calling my people liars, right? I mean, it's a no-win situation. Everyone is facing this today. We are seeing it in customer support. We're seeing it, of course, the other AI vendors doing a lot of different things are reporting this. I've got a lot of friends running AI companies, and they're all reporting this, a lot of the same thing. We know we did great work. We know what the outcomes were. We could measure it. And these employees said, nope, didn't work. Don't want it. Don't need it. Because they're looking out for their jobs. And that's really too bad. That is really too bad. It's in the Industrial Revolution when they rolled out equipment that was helping to automate the manufacture of textiles. And people would throw their sabots, the workers, their shoes, their sabots, into the machine to sabotage the machine. That's where the word comes from. So automation rolling into the workplace has been sabotage for 200 years. This is not new. This is what workers do. But eventually, the workers lose. Like this, to be clear, the machines won, right? It took about 2 years and the machines were there and the workers were gone, and that was that. That is going to be the same here. You can try to sabotage the AI, but that isn't a winning stand for you. The winning stand is to become the robot overlord, to become the expert in the AI. And if these people want to sabotage them, turn them in, right? Say, they're sabotaging it. Let me tell you what it really did. I want to be the robot overlord. You move up, they move out, right? Someone's going to move up to run this AI, to own the AI, to own the outputs, to check the outputs. This is true in every industry, in every field. So you want to be the person who moves up and becomes the manager, because someone's going to do that and a bunch of people are going to be gone. And the saboteurs are always terminated every single time. We have hundreds of years of experience of this.
Yeah, it seems like the world is changing fast and people are still trying to adjust to some of these and adopt to some of these new technologies. And it's not different than probably things in the industrial revolution or move from to manufacturing with automation, like all of that. It seems to be a recurring theme. But I guess it's also how do you educate those employees too on the benefits to them? Because sometimes it might be kind of short sighted if you think it's going to replace you. Maybe it can enhance you or
It will enhance you. Well, it's going to enhance or augment or amplify some percentage of your team, and the rest of the team is going to be gone. That's what happens, right? And so you don't want, in some of these areas, you don't want to be the people who are going to be gone. So I always recommend, become the AI expert, become the AI overlord, the robot overlord. Those are the people who win. And those are the people, certainly in my companies, that we keep. They are leveraging AI to the hilt, and we want to keep them and we want to put them at the forefront. That's what we do. And these other people who are, it doesn't work, it doesn't, yes, it does, and you sabotaged it, and that gives me zero confidence that I should keep you.
So what skills would be most valuable for IT professionals and business leaders in this kind of AI-driven world to make sure they aren't displaced?
Learn every tool you can. Learn all the different models, and then learn the targeted tools that have come out of startups and other companies, right? You got to go way beyond Copilot. Copilot is just scratching the surface. You need to use the 5 big models. And again, then you need to go on to sort of a variety of other tools. In my presentations, my keynotes, I'll typically use, 40 different AI tools or so and demonstrate what they do and why I would use them. And there's some great tools in HR. There's great tools in marketing for intent now, for intent to buy. I mean, there's all these different things that work with AI. You want to know what they are because that's the future of your company. And if you don't think that's the future of your company, then there's a startup that's going to eat your lunch because that is how they're working. The startup that's going to be worth $10 billion that has one employee has already been born. I don't know which one it is yet. It has one employee, 10 AI agents, 50 AI agents, 10 different AI, 20 different AI tools. And it's one person just letting the AI do what it's supposed to do. And they don't even have to raise any money. This is fascinating, right? They are going to eat your lunch because they can deliver products and services, goods and services at half the price you can. You can't compete. You go, but it takes us 3,000 people to do the same thing. Well, I guess you're not an AI first company, are you? You're an AI last company. You lose.
Very interesting. Can you explain the difference between agentic AI and traditional process automation or robotic process automation?
Of course. This is an interesting time because everyone talks about agents, and there are some agents being used in corporate America. Agents are being heavily used in startups, of course, or smaller companies. RPA has been around for 10 plus years, 20 years, really, and robotic process automation. And the thing with RPA is it's very rules-based, right? You've written a set of rules. If this, then this, right? So you've got all these conditionals in there. By the way, what's great about rules in big companies is you have a predictable outcome. It's really good. If you're a large company and a regulated industry, you need predictable outcomes. This is not a bad thing. I think someone listening to this that's in a smaller company goes, oh, that's totally stupid. Well, I don't know. If you're in the insurance business or the pharma business, the medical business, the banking business, fintech, whatever, a rules-based system is a really good idea. It is not bad. It is not bad. So those large companies spent 20 years rolling out RPA, and certainly the last 10. And automating many or most of their repeatable processes. They've already got RPA doing it. So now agents come along. And an agent can also automate those processes. It does it with AI, so it's making decisions along the way rather than be rules-based. So that is really cool for a startup. You go, wow, let it make its own decision. If you're a bank, you go, I don't want to make its own decision because it could make one that puts me in jail. Right? I mean, so you start putting rules around it, and then you start putting rules around it, and you go, what gain do I have? I already have RPA that automated this very sophisticated rollout process for some application in the cloud and check process, whatever it is, right? Or something that checks in 5 different systems to make sure this isn't fraud. I've already RPA'd that. It already runs in 3 seconds, and it does it incredibly fast, and there's no human involved today, and it's got a set of rules. What am I going to do? Take 3 seconds to 3 seconds? It's not going to go any faster, right? I have no gain to go to AI. All I have is risk. I have risk. So when you look at large enterprises that already took 10 years, spent millions of dollars, rolled out RPA, they are less incentivized to go to this agent thing that makes its own decisions. One, because they've already saved all the money. There's no more money to save. Two, because they want a predictable outcome, actually. And rules-based is a good thing. It's not bad. Now, if you're a startup, you never did RPA, you go, hey, here's a dumb process that I do over and over and over again, or this person in the corner does. Let's just create an agent that does that. And the agents aren't perfect. They don't do everything, they're trying to interact like a human does, and they don't do that exceptionally well today. RPA took a long time to understand how to interact with web apps, for example. We're trying to use AI to do that, and AI doesn't do that very well because it isn't using the accessors and locators the way RPA does, which, sort of built-in rules about how to do that. It doesn't work as well. It's not as reliable. It's not rules-based, but it's really cool. And you can implement one in 20 minutes. Now, for a startup that just eliminated a seat over there, it's really great. And maybe it's not right all the time, and I don't care. Again, for a bank, not going to happen, right? So I think that's where the bifurcation is. If you've already got RPA in place, it's probably pretty darn good. I don't need it to make its own independent decisions. If you don't, an agent is a great thing. It'll make its own independent decisions. But again, you are doing a type of robotic process automation. You're just doing one with rules and one with AI making its own decisions on the fly based on everything it saw and heard. So in the insurance industry, for example, I could process a claim with RPA for a long time now, certainly for 10 years if I wanted to do so. But it's very rules-based. And if you sent in pictures, maybe a human would look at those pictures and make some decisions and then kick off the RPA. Now I can use AI to look at the pictures itself and say, I'm going to set, literally in a minute, I'm ACHing, $5,000 for this person to have their car fixed or replace their car, whatever the case is. I think you're going to see places where it comes in, where it makes sense to start making real decisions just on the fly, and other places where it doesn't. But look, isn't it great that we have more choices than we did just a few years ago?
It is great. So those agents probably have to be trained on important internal data. And security teams, they're always looking at the risk. As you mentioned, there's always a risk. What are some of those concerns that companies typically have when it comes to AI agents having access to, let's say, multiple cloud applications and the data within them?
Nobody likes it.
And how do they mitigate those risks?
Yeah, nobody likes it. Having machines, an AI agent basically, access all this data just opens up all these AI users that you can't 100% verify, and you certainly can't verify with biometrics. So if someone hacks into that VPN or gets that IP address or whatever the secure protocol is, maybe they mimic that, you got a problem, because they can come in as this AI agent and interact with your data in really bad ways. So that's scary to corporations. Obviously, we have ways to mitigate it, right? We can lock down IP addresses. We can do a lot of things, right? It's IP addresses, it's VPN, it's secure exchange of some kind of encrypted ID form, whatever, right? But nonetheless, all of those have some kind of risk. It's not a zero risk. And so the upside has to be really high. The thing with RPA is you could install it fully in-house, and it stayed in-house. It literally worked behind your firewall 100%. So, now if you get agents that work 100% behind your firewall, which you can do, you can put Llama behind your firewall, for example, and run, use that as kind of your AI base. That might work fine. But I think these are some of the things that people have to make trade-offs about. And again, what is the gain, right? If I can get rid of 30,000 employees that were processing claims, I'm willing to take a lot more risk than, if I get rid of one person. this isn't just about getting rid of people, but you get my point, right? Some CFO somewhere is going to say, what's the productivity gain? Where's the savings? I'm going to spend millions of dollars rolling this out. How do I get the millions back? And a CIO's got to answer that.
So let's talk about the other side of AI, the kind of infrastructure. I have a few questions about infrastructure, since that's probably going to affect your area as well. There seems to be a lot of investment in AI data centers and that infrastructure to support AI applications and AI services. What are your thoughts on some of that investment and how it relates to what you're doing?
I think if you add it all up, what everybody's committed, it's like $5 trillion over the next 10 years. And more electricity than has ever been generated in the history of the planet. Probably that's not going to happen. That's just my, having seen boom bust cycles. Now, that doesn't say AI isn't going to happen. Remember, when the internet bust happened, the internet grew like wildfire. Had nothing to do with the fact that the underlying technology was wrong. It had to do with the fact that there was too much money and too much excitement, and it got over its skis, right? Clearly, if you invested in Amazon and stayed with it through the bust, you did quite well. Same with Google. They were just overvalued for where they were at that moment in time. And that's what we're seeing here. So, are we really going to build $5 trillion of AI infrastructure? Probably not. And there's many reasons for that. Inference is going to get at least 2x more efficient every 18 months or so, just following Moore's law. And then we've got algorithmic law, which is a little different, but the algorithms are also getting better. We're having some breakthroughs in algorithms that go, wow, this is 3 times more efficient for solving this problem just algorithmically, right? So, in 10 years, we might be doing inference at 100x more productivity than we do today, right? Or more efficiency than we do today. So that's 100x improvement over where we are today. And by the way, maybe it's 1,000x, but it's going to be numbers like that. Well, that's pretty interesting, right? That recalculates what kind of hardware I need and how much I need of it. And how many people are going to take use of it. And, people are doing all kinds of projections around video and how much video is going to be created. And obviously people are out there creating cat videos. All you got to do is go on Instagram today and see cat, and they're great. I love it, right? I'm very entertained by this. But eventually that waits, right? Or wanes and you get into real business and real effort. So I think it's not going to be 5 trillion, because who's going to pay 5 trillion? If you're putting 5 trillion in, 10 trillion or more has got to come back the other way in dollars, maybe 20 trillion. Who's got 20 trillion? Who's going to write $20 trillion worth of checks? And then the numbers don't add up. And now you've got people that really have to build power plants next to these things because there's just not enough power. So they're doing small modular nuclear, which I think is a great idea. I love nuclear. It's great. They're restarting nuclear plants. Should have never shut them down. That's just my opinion. I know it's controversial, but it is a zero CO2 technology that we've had since the 1950s, and it's gotten much safer over the decades. Probably we should be using it rather than coal, or even natural gas. So all of that is interesting. I think it's fascinating that it's going to be the technology industry that is driving the resurgence of nuclear, which is a zero CO2 power source. Couldn't have guessed that, right? Everybody stayed out of it until they really needed power, and then they just got in the game. But it's, lastly, I mean, the big question, the elephant in the room is NVIDIA going to go from 5 trillion to 10 trillion? Probably not, right? I mean, I hope if you got into NVIDIA at 100 billion, this was a great run. But it's just, they're already the most valuable company in the world. They have more valuation than the entire semiconductor industry outside of them. The numbers at some point are just a little nonsensical, and you can't keep doubling in growth again, right? So well-run company, great products, about to have a lot of competition. TensorFlow is a real competitor. A lot of these technologies are real competition for what they do. And so, in 5 years, we might have 5 flavors of inference processors, right? As opposed to just GPUs from NVIDIA. So I think the marketplace is going to look quite different. Nonetheless, fun to watch and fun to participate in.
Do you foresee any of the pushback from consumers and communities about some of these AI data centers and AI tools in general using so much power? Do you see that affecting?
No, consumers always generally, I'll get in trouble for this, right? Kind of overestimate the impact they have by protesting and moaning and this. And I'm going to say it's right or wrong. It's just, it generally doesn't have any impact. What it tells them is they probably have to come and show up with their own power sources, but those exist. Solar, wind, and small modular nuclear, I think, are just going to come along for the ride. And they're available technologies today. People are going to install them, and they're going to say, I'm just mostly staying off your grid. And we heard you, got you. And by the way, they just can't pull that much from the grid anyway. There just isn't enough, right? It isn't about the price going up, because price is only going up because they're firing up peaker plants and then they're running them all the time. That's not a sustainable future anyway, right? Nobody wants that. So in the end, you see the big guys are trying to figure out, how do I install this next to a nuclear plant? How do I put in small modular nuclear? How do I add solar and wind? They're going to do things like that. There's just no choice. And our grid is not built to produce twice as much power as it both produces and handles today, or else it would have been there, right? It doesn't do that, except with peaker plants, and they're not going to run those. So I think this sorts itself out. I mean, it's good that people, complained about the price of power, but it's going to sort itself out anyway, because the data centers are really, the cost of running a data center is all power after you build it, right? It's power and water. So I need cheap water, I need cheap power. They're going to put in small modular nuclear because they can generate power 3 or 4 cents a kilowatt hour. They are not going to pay 12 cents a kilowatt hour. They don't want to pay it. You don't want to pay it. Water finds its own level pretty quickly.
So let's talk a little bit about physical AI before we get to future trends. So you said the game really changes in the past when we have humanoid robots doing laundry, cooking, and cleaning. How far away are we from that kind of reality?
I'd love to say 2030. It's probably a little longer. We always underestimate how long these things take. But the strides we've made in humanoid robots is amazing. And we're using reinforcement learning for them to train themselves now. And so once we got coders out of it and allow robots to train themselves, they can start to get much better at many things. They're basically building their own neural net on how to fold laundry, for example, rather than I have to code in every fold for every different piece of laundry. That is a lot of coding. It's a lot of rules, right? This is much more interesting as a way to move forward, is to have them train themselves. So now that they're doing that, it does come down to mechanics and solenoids and motors, and those are hard things. But look at the progress that was made just in the last few years. It was only 10 years ago that we could get a robot to actually walk from Boston Dynamics. It wasn't that long ago. And today they can run and jump, and they've just got a lot more capability, except for that stupid one out of Russia that was a piece of crap that fell over on the stage. And then they run over and they cover it up like it didn't happen. I'm sorry, we saw it. You're all the great Russian engineers left Russia a couple years ago. They're not coming back. I'm sorry, right?
So right now, the concern is that there's a chip shortage, not chip shortages only, but memory, all of that. Right now, there's a big strain with providing them to enterprise customers rather than smaller potential customers, between consumers and smaller businesses. How do you see that affecting some of those advancements with physical AI, like creating these robots and all that? Do you see that?
I was in the semiconductor industry many years ago, and semiconductor industry tends to go boom to bust. And so you go in these years where there's absolute shortages because there's this thing that's on fire. And 3 years later, by the time you build your extra fabs, there's a market flood. And this has been true in DRAMs since the invention of DRAMs, literally. There's a shortage, you could charge twice as much. Then there's a glut, you can charge half as much. And it just does this. So I think we're in one of those cycles, and the cycle will prove itself out. It will, because there's not infinite capital. And I wouldn't worry about it. And people are building fabs like crazy. I mean, TSMC is now going to build like 9 fabs or something in Arizona. They know they can't just be in Taiwan. So lots is happening. Micron, one of the largest DRAM manufacturers, building all these fabs in upstate New York because there's plenty of water, lots and lots of water, and you need water. And so, people are getting smarter about where they put these things too. I don't know that I'd be building that many fabs in Arizona. That's me, just because of the water needs. But I think you'll see people getting smarter to put them where the natural resources are and that don't put a strain on the community.
Very cool. So beyond these practical uses, let's talk about the future. What emerging AI trend are you most excited for in the next 5 to 10 years, let's say?
Well, lots of people want to talk about AGI. I could care less. I don't know what that. Well, at that moment, then it's smarter than humans. Okay, listen, just use ChatGPT and ask it a question and convince yourself that it's not smarter than you. It's already smarter than you on 99% of its answers. So everybody get over it. At the point it's 100% versus, it doesn't matter. Well, that's the point that humanity, no, it isn't. We're just going to, look, in math, Excel's been smarter than us since the late 80s. It's 100% right in math, 100%. It's better than any human at math, period, full stop, and it's 1,000,000 times faster. And somehow we survived the fact that we don't do math anymore. So you'll survive this too. And it's fine. The big trend, look, I think we will probably get beyond transformers. Transformers, LLMs, multimodals are based on everything that we put out there on the web, but it's not really based on creating anything new. And we know that, right? These aren't inventing models. They are leveraging all of human invention, which is amazing, but it's not going to come up with a whole new field of physics because it doesn't have any basis to do so. It's just regurgitating what we've taught it. So there will be a model that does, and that does not go down the transformer road, and it doesn't go down any of the way we've trained. It's going to be something really completely different than we've thought of. And I await that day, and that could happen in the next 10 years.
It's exciting. So everything's rapidly evolving. You've talked about a lot of the new innovations, from adoption at enterprises to some of the new ways applications like AppMance are working and Token. What advice would you give kind of IT leaders who are trying to navigate all of this change? What would you tell them and give them advice to navigate this AI innovation?
Yeah, I mean, you want you and your people to be at the forefront of technology, especially now. It is moving much more rapidly. It's always been the case, but it's moving very rapidly now. You want to be at the forefront in ID protection for sure. It's biometrics. Just get past that. Whether you believe me now or you believe me 6 months from now, it is biometrics, right? Like there's no question about that. In AI, you need to be at the forefront of everything happening in AI. You need people on your team who understand the models, understand the risks, understand how you can use them in a private fashion. You need to understand MCP so you can move between models. I mean, these are the things you just need to know about today. And none of that you were taught in school. None. This is all new. But take the time to be an expert because your company expects you to be the expert in AI. You didn't sign up for it, but you're the CIO. Falls under you. So get with it.
What's one thing you wish every business leader understood about AI that they currently don't?
Yeah, it does 10 times more than you think it does. And you just need to try it and get used to it. Right. I used an example. I'll give you another example. Injuries in a plant. I was working with a company. They had 10,000 injuries in the plant, and they're all written in English, right? So you can't really categorize them. But Gen AI can. Here's the 10,000 injuries. They're in a spreadsheet. Tell me what we fix in the plant to reduce these by 50% immediately. Boom. Here's the 5 recommendations. I can't do that with traditional analytics. I can't do it with a database. I can't do it with formula. I can't do it with anything else but something that reads English and can absorb sort of what all that was and make recommendations and apply them. I mean, that's brilliant. And when I tell people that, they go, oh my God, I never thought of that. Yeah, you didn't think of 99% of what you can do. Get creative, and it's going to change your world.
You could even ask the AI, hey, what are some interesting ways I could use you to do X, Y, and Z? It was a great conversation, Kevin. So we loved hearing about what you're doing at Advanced Token, all of the interesting AI things you're doing. Plug your book. Tell us about your book real quick before we go.
Yeah, the Joy Success Cycle, coming out in the era of AI. How do people find joy every moment of their work, every moment of their day, every task? That's what the Joy Success Cycle is about. And it basically says, if you want to be the most successful, you're going to drive that with joy. It's not the other way around.
Excellent. We look forward to it. We appreciate you being on today. Thank you for talking with us. And for our listeners, thanks for listening in. Stay tuned for more episodes of Cloud Currents, where you'll hear more of these great conversations. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you.